Afternoon once again to all of you, and welcome to Life After Lockdown Discussion 14. We have two distinguished panel members here. We have Anjan Kumar Sahoo. Sahoo is having a long career in pharmaceutical company. We have SHAILESH. SHAILESH PATIL has been also from the industry. He has headed Cipla, Omnicare, as well as he was a business unit head in Sanofi, Juventus. So long career here. And then he wanted to come out and contribute to many companies with his own services, his own expertise. And most of the pharma companies are mostly, an option given is product-centric and customer-centric. What is your opinion on that? That's the starting point for this discussion today. Most of the pharma companies are mostly product-centric or customer-centric. And I'm ending the poll now. I see it is 66% of the participants says that it is product-centric, and 33% of the participants says that it is the customer-centric. So interesting thing, I read here comments from Amar Kamath. He writes that I really mix up both, but in my opinion, focus shifting towards customer of late. So that's good to watch that. Before we start here, I would like to show you intro video, small video. Myself got exposed about customer centricity first time maybe 18-19 years back when the company I was working that time was launching a field force automation, and that company was the first in the country among the MNC and Indian company to be automate the whole process. And that time we talked about the customer centricity. I was in charge for launching that project for a few geographies for multiple divisions at that time. So I asked simple questions to those that time's medical reps, area managers, regional managers, and all the people who were present in that rollout meeting. Then same question I would like to ask quickly for from all of you also. Very simple question. And I will tell you the concept why I'm asking to these questions also. So the question is that in your job, whom are you accountable to? And answer is ABC. So ABC doesn't mean anything. So how to respond then? You please respond. Purposely, I have not given an option here. So please respond in the chat box. In your job, whom you are accountable to. While you are responding to, I will give you the context when this project was getting launched in that company. I tried to learn from the literatures, and I got a HBR article, and that was saying a very crude way of assessing the customer centricity in any organization. The article says that you ask to your employee to whom you are accountable to, and what is the response. If the response is coming to usually comes maximum. When I ask these questions to the team of sales managers, regional managers, and medical rep and area manager, most people said that, a large number of people said that to their boss, to their L+1. A good number of people said that for themselves. Like I see answer here also coming to themselves. Some people said that for the society, for the humankind. So different kind of answer came. Unfortunately, I could not get any answer that time, which I see here coming up. Answer from Raghavan Iyengar. He writes for the client. Client is a level of customer. So the article said that if your employee thinks in mind, always customer first, then you can say, and most of the employee, if they feel that, suppose 70-80% of employee are saying responding as a customer, it means that the organization is customer centric. Though it is a very crude way of assessing a company's customer centricity, but it is a good measure of what exactly the culture practice of the organization is. With this note, I see people have responded here. A lot of things good to see here a very response is much better than what I got 18 years back. Okay, we come back here. This is my favorite topic, and for last 2 decades actually I have been, and I came to know about a interesting person. I adore him like anything. I was his student 7-8 years back. Then I contacted him personally in 2016. I want you to watch a video as a primer for this discussion going forward. Now, just to give you an idea about this person, video is long. We will not play the whole long video.
So what do marketers talk about when they talk about marketing? Well, they tend to talk about actions. They talk about activities. They talk about tactics. They talk about the products they develop, the services that they deliver, how they get this stuff out there, the prices that they charge. So much of the conversation is about what they do, but so little of it is about who they do it to or who they do it with. And of course, I'm talking about the customers. I'm the customer guy, and I want to talk to you about this idea of customer centricity. And it's not what you think. You're thinking marketing professor, customer centricity. Oh, I know. You're going to talk all about how the company needs to surround itself around the customer, and it's their job to make every customer happy. We can't sleep at night until the least happy customer is satisfied. Nah. I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff over there. I think about those notions about the customer is always right is wrong. I think it's irresponsible. I think it's ineffective. And I think following those ideals is actually way out of line with the best practices that we see across the other parts of the organization. So when I talk about customer centricity, I'm talking about which are the customers that we should be surrounding. Who are the best customers? Who are the customers who are most valuable to us? And what is it that we can do to enhance their value, extract some of that value from our shareholders, and find more customers like them? That's customer centricity. And it's not limited just to marketing. It really should be a company-wide strategy that if we can figure out who the most valuable customers are, and if we can find ways to use that for product development, sales and service, distribution, and so on, we can make more money than if we just obsess over version 2.0 of the product. Now, I've written 2 books on this topic. The titles might not be that interesting or that diagnostic, but the subtitles, they hit the nail on the head. The first one is focus on the right customers for strategic advantage. The second one, the newer one, implement a winning strategy driven by customer lifetime value. That's really the main thing that I focus on in my research, is this idea of customer lifetime value. A lot of people talk about it some kind of as if it's just an abstract concept. You can't really do it, but it's fun to think about the different long-run value of each customer. It's my job to really do it. It's my job to take this concept and make it real and make it actionable and help it make a difference for companies. Think about it this way. If I can project how long my relationship with you is going to last, how many transactions or interactions you're going to have over that horizon, and how valuable each one of those interactions will be, and basically add all that stuff up, I can come up with a pretty good guess of your lifetime value. This is what I've been doing research on for most of my 32 years here on the Penn faculty. But it's getting out of the laboratory, getting out of the academic journals, and bringing it to the real world. Back in 2015, I co-founded my first company, Zodiac, and that was exactly the idea, was to take...
So I will stop here. This is available in YouTube, TEDx, Customer-Centricity, Peter Feder. His name is Peter Feder, as you see here. He's a professor of Wharton School of Business, of Marketing, actually. For last 35 years, he has been working in customer centricity. Recently, 1 month back, actually, he published his third book also. Third book is also in the market now, available. I have read, obviously, I have pleasure to reading earlier two books thoroughly, actually, multiple times, many sections. In 2016, I have contacted him asking whatever you are saying is fine, but we are working in pharmaceutical company. Those are the days where I was leading a customer centricity project along working with McKinsey and company, and working for multiple specialty, multiple verticals, multiple divisions on this project. So I wanted to know more about that. So that time I communicated with him through email exchange, and still now we are in very much in touch. That Zodiac company which he formed, you must have seen the video, was already working that time on customer centricity in pharmaceutical company. So he has shared me some of the data and points. Says that pharmaceutical companies are right placed actually. And in Georgia, he was working with a company as a consultant, and they were doing this project there as a customer centricity project there. So people says that customer centricity is fine for Amazon or other company, may not be for pharmaceutical company. I think that myth is not right. You see, the topic of this discussion is myth and myopia and customer centricity. One of the myth you must have heard right now, that customer is always right, and he says that no, there is nothing called the customer, and customer is not always right. All customer are not always right. These are the basic thing to start with discussion. Now I come back to my panelist here. I would like to know from them their perspective. So starting with Sahoo, Anjan ke Sahoo, you have been heading many organizations in past couple of decades, right? At the very senior level, mid management to top to the president level also. We have seen all perspective, all different function, not only marketing. What is your perspective of customer centricity for pharmaceutical company?
Yeah, Pranav, thanks a lot. Thank you very much, all the participants. And thanks, SHAILESH, be one of the panelists. I just take you through customer centricity. It all started off my journey when I started learning the deeper insight of the customer centricity when I started working in Dr. Reddy's laboratories. And I believe one of the participant, he is there in the panelist, in the party as a participant forum, and who has really brought this concept of the customer centricity way back in 95, 96. He is none other than Milind Hardas. And I believe Milind is there in the group who is being a participant. And from there, we started off learning what is a customer centricity. Possibly that time, the entire paradigm of the pharmaceutical industry is CRM, what is called CRM. But the myopic view is CRM. But if you look at in the broader view, it is the customer centricity. What we learned over a period of time when we started analyzing what are the deeper insight of customer centricity. Meaning, I just linked during this 30 years of journey, I have seen when it is applied to really what is called customer centricity, we create a customers which is lifetime value to the organizations. What Peter talked about CLV, now there are a lot of model has come up, the metrics has come up to measure CLV, but it was not been practiced in the pharmaceutical industry. So I look at customer centricity. Before I go into customer centricity, one need to understand in the pharma paradox, when we talk about the customers, we only link to the doctors. And some crude pharma, they looked into doctor and retailer or the stockist, some bonus and all. And CRM is one of the measure. And through CRM, what kind of relationship I built in? My question is, does it customer centricity? Does it mean the customer centricity? That was an old paradox. Now, what are the new? What is now happening and what is the new? That possibly we need to touch upon. What is the customer centricity? Second, number one. Number two, when we talk of customer centricity, just come out of the pharmaceutical, doctor's point of view. To me, I look at a customer is the ecosystem who touch my brand, whether a shop floor to the end point who dispose my product at the retail point, or the end who consume my product is the customer. So the entire gamut of the ecosystem we need to create that customer centricity to touch upon everything, how much valued we are. So that is what the entire point of discussion today we will focus on, that how to create that ecosystem to touch upon every aspects of the customer centricity, not through the window of doctors alone. I'm not denying it doctors, but it is one of the, but every aspects, both internal and external customers. That is how I look at. If Shailesh want to add on, you can.
Yes.
I'm not able to.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks, Pranav, for setting up the tone for this very vast topic, which is coming up in a big way in recent times in terms of the clarity. There are two paradigms which I want to draw the attention to. One paradigm is you started with saying, who is my job security, right? And that was the question. And I quote from the book Winning by Jack Welch, from a company who was one of the more renowned CEOs. So renowned that he was at the top of the stock market for consistency when he was CEO. And one of the underlying factors which made this company star and the CEO rock star was the bottom line that the job security is the customer. Now, this is a paradigm on which if the topmost company in the world, one of the oldest companies, which was set up by one of the renowned scientists, Edison, is still continuing. I think that's a test of the fact that customer is the job security. Where I'm coming to this point is that when we see from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, every day a pharma company is born and every day a pharma company dies. If I take a train from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, every station, the brand of a packaged drinking water changes, right? Bileri, Bisleri, etc. And if you look at each corner, there is a 14 chemists or 21 doctors which have their own companies. So in these times, we have enough challenges of NPPA, generic, Janaushadhi, etc. And I think one of the factors, the paradigms which is one of the markers of success is customer is my job security. Now, coming to the second paradigm is the traditional pharma structure, which I think Anjan rightly pointed out, that it's not only the doctor, there are a lot of people, every stakeholder who touches my brand is involved. When we used to take care of brands, both in Indian companies as well as multinational companies, I think the bottom line is very simple, that everyone in the organization is given a power of attorney by the customer to take care of the brand. So when I'm surprised sometimes when people say, it's my brand, it's my brand, it's my brand. I think that is where the problem starts, is when you work in silos. I think the time has come to see the paradigm. It's like, one Pandit conducting a puja and somebody says, he's conducting the puja, what am I doing? But if you look at the first 10 minutes of any vidhi or a puja, actually it takes the power of attorney from you. So I would say that everybody who's working in the organization, there is a power of attorney which is given by the customer to you to take care of the brand. And that is why my eyes, my ear, my head, and all tools should be focused over what is the customer talking about. It's not only the words, but it's the body language, his behavior, an entire gamut of things what he does in a day, maybe his family, multiple things. And I think that is where I would define as customer centricity.
Unmute.
I think Pranav will have to unmute.
Yeah,
I think I was saying lovely the way you put this thing. I loved it actually. So the first question is that why should a company be a customer centric? This is the question, because people sell the product, they don't sell the customer, right? So why should we, being a company, pharmaceutical company, we should be product centric? So I have put this poll right now. Why should a company be a customer centric? And there are some options given here. Don't limit your thought to this option given here. You have any other answer, please put in the chat box. Uh, why should a company be a customer centric? Because customer is king, because it is easy to do, because every other people are talking about it. It is a fancy here and there. Everybody is talking about now customer centric. 16% respondent says that because customer is king. Majority 50% says that because it gives a competitive edge in a good market as well as bad market right now. And there are other answer also, which is interesting to read it here. Umesh writes that it is not about understanding selling process. It is about knowing the buyer, buying process. Good. So now come back to Mr. Sahoo again here with this point of reason again. Coming to the business, is the customer centricity make a better business sense than product centricity? Very upfront question to you, Mr. Sahu.
Okay. I will start with one of the question that yes, product centricity or customer centricity. Very minor vision is the product centricity, and customer centricity beyond that. I'll quote some example. It is 1956, Peter Drucker said in his first quote that if you are not customer focused, you are not in the business. Then is the Jack Welch subsequently talked about, slightly reframed the word. He said, if you do not understand the power of your brand, as a CEO, you are in the great danger. But the recent past, in the last 10 decades, last decade, it is Steve Jobs, whom I can admire, is one of the greatest marketeers. He talked about, don't think of the customer or your brand, think of your customer insight. Bring to the table about the customer insight. When I looked into what is customer insight, then I looked into his window of thinking towards the customer centricity, not at the brand. A customer centricity which really create a kind of value which is unmatched. A brand is a short term. I have few slides. I'll just take it for the benefit of the team, if it is
Sure, please,
okay
please.
with.
Yeah.
Am I getting it?
Yeah, I started for you.
Okay, I start with the current behavior of the market. This is a slide which I talked about from the customer window of retail as a consumer insight. What I look at, there are almost 43% retailers. This is a research from the IQA, which talked about the 33%, 23% retailer has got a stocks out of stocks in the current scenario. 81% distributors, stockists, they reduce the operation time. Instead of 8 to 10 hours, now they work only for 4 to 5 hours. 33% doctors wanted the companies to reduce the webinar. The webinar becomes so high, 33%. But positive note is 67% still want it. And point to be noted, 3 years back, I started digital business on when I was in the helm of Hetero Healthcare. When I completely started my business with a digital mode, it is only 2% doctors who appreciated these concepts. What transformed in these 3 years of time, and particularly this pandemic period, 2% becomes 67% doctors, which they are willing for the digital transformation. Point to be noted here. 600%, there is an increase in the digital media communications, and almost 300% there is an increase in the online business. That means there is a shift happening on the consumer behavior side. Just understand this buying behavior. Now I look at the doctors. Now how the doctors, they transact their current business. I look at around 82% doctors, they looked into the business through the telephone call. 78% on the WhatsApps, 29% doctors on the emails, 41% doctors, they transact with the patient with a SMS, 11% with a video call, and 10% on the live or the digital interactions. This is what the pattern is changing for the doctors when they talk about the business. Now, I look at in this scenario how the pharmaceutical company, they started dealing with the doctors. There are 91% pharma companies started dealing with the doctors through WhatsApp messages, 62% through the emails, 60% through the phone calls, 47% the SMS, and 18% of the live digital interactions. Now, what are the time that doctors they spend to interact with? 31% doctors say that evening between 4 to 8 o'clock. 28% doctors in the morning time between 7 to 12, and 24% afternoon between 4 to 8, and 10% they have no preferences. They can meet anytime they feel like. Now, coming back, in this pandemic time, what are the doctors they look at from the pharmaceutical companies? They look at the 66% doctors, they look at the scientific update on the new drugs. 42% on the safety profile, information on the safety profile, and 42% on the very recent clinical trials. And there are doctors, those who look at 51%, they look at the recent diagnosis on the, what are the various diagnosis tools for the COVID treatment. 41% they look at the drug developments, and 41% they look at the, what are the vaccines updates. On the service point of view, 53% doctors they look at, give me the gloves and the mask and sanitizers. 34% they wanted the online services, and 33%. That means that what I look at the how the behavior are changing. Instead of physical asset, they mostly look into the digital paradigm. Now I'll talk to you about what is a conventional and what is a contemporary we are expecting, and few of the approaches on the pharmaceutical. I look at the conventional approaches mostly on the brand centric, what you talked about the brand centric. What I wrote at the good dominant logic, but this is a brand centric, which will give you the immediate piece. But what the future is, looking into the service dominant, I mean mostly on the service dominant to the doctors. On the focus areas, instead of products, now the new approach is going to be the services. People area, both internal customer, how they mingle with the external like doctors, instead of operand, more into the operation window. Now it is the operant. Operant meaning bring the customer inside, the behavioral change towards your new approaches. This is one of the key role to play now the immediately post and immediately post COVID. The digital paradigm is going to change into operant, not in the operand. The process, current process is the standardized, the new process is going to be personalized. What again Steve Jobs talked about. Bring the customer insight about the and develop the product accordingly. Technology which is legacy based, now the technology going to be transformational. Value creation which is farm centric, now it is a customer centric, and culture of the organization which is product market centric, now it is again the customer centric. When we talk about the customer centric, Pranav, you asked a question about brand centric or customer centric. If you are brand centric, you have a very short-term tactics, what the marketing team create about. If you are a customer centric, you create a customer which is linked to the CLV, lifetime value, which you link to the CRM, you link to the customer loyalty, you link to the customer who will be pro and intangible wealth to your organizations. Possibly every organization now look into customer centricity, linked to the balance it, that this is not a tangible asset, what are the intangible asset also you create in terms of customer centricity. And this is not new actually, this customer centricity been, I mean, the last slide I looked at, this is the current approach. The current approach is the center of logistics center, where the cost center, I look at this is the cost center and the administration. Our entire pharma approach is the current positioning is this quadrant, cost center and administration. Somebody is spending marketing team and it is getting administered. But the new approach, entire shift is going to be strategic and the profit center. Meaning any point we spent as a cost center is going to be a future position as a profit unit. I look at customer centricity is the key word, key business going to be for as a SBUT function in every organization if they are looking for the future business domain. And
I think this,
yes, yes, Pranav.
yeah, this is a beautiful framework, Mr. Sahu, you have given here. Actually, if you relate it with the what Peter said, right? CLV, customer lifetime value. That also takes care of the future business which you are going to get from the customer.
Absolutely.
Consider that right now and work on that. So very much aligned with what global thought leaders on customer centricity think on that.
I'll give a few example.
Yeah, please.
Sometime how to create a customer lifetime value. Long back, 96, some of the tips we got it from Milind. Again, I quote Milind Atlas. And we have applied as a in some of the business areas, and till now we have seen the doctors, those who have been using this. I'll give a second example of Dilip Sangvi, whom I admire in one of the giant in the Indian pharmaceutical. Dilip Sangvi, he used the customer centricity, what he transformed 1,000 doctors into a lifetime Sun Pharma doctors. What he did, one of the tactics I'm talking about, when he came to the SEBI, he wanted to give 1 lakh rupees to the doctors as a CRM. Instead of giving CRM 1 lakh rupees, he offered 1 lakh worth of the shares. Now, same doctors, when he looked at his 1 lakh worth of shares, now that share value has gone up to 1 crore, 100 lakhs plus, and the same doctors become a lifetime value creator for the Dilip Sun Pharmaceutical. I look at this is one of the tactics, but convert into a CLV, how a instant emotionally tagged and linked to create a value for the organizations.
As you rightly say, this could be a tactics, not the strategy. I differ.
No, I look at these are tactics. These are tactics, but look at the tactics can be as a CLV, a lifetime customer value creator. I know most of the doctors, they say that, okay, this brand, leave it for Sun Pharmaceutical, rest I will use for the others. That is how the created value. But what Peter said about the customer centricity, it is not very easy actually. It has to be linked, IT to come into the forefront. All the metrics to be measured. It is to be segmentized. I look at, there are 64% doctors who continue to be loyal to the organizations if there is a customer centricity being applied. So unless that ecosystem in the organization being created, it requires a huge mindset. The threshold required for every entrepreneur to withstand that threshold. Number one. Number two, it requires a huge amount of training to the frontline people who can be empowered.
Right.
To learn about the ultimate customer insight. If they don't bring to your table, you make it a mess out of it. So possibly, I look at if we spend in the digital paradigm, digital era, instead of physical meeting to the doctors, if 40% time on the development happened to the medical representative or the area manager of the line people through the digital paradigm, bringing the customer insight, either meeting physically or through the electronic media or digital media, possibly it can create a huge change to the organizations in the days to come. And this is going to be the future marketing directions I look at.
Future marketing direction, and this is not easy actually. You said already, this is not an easy. I tell you, I remember just now what happened. There was a leadership summit of multiple companies, and it was day long, and the India head of AWS, Amazon Web Services, was there. Just forgot his name right now. Was there, and this forum was for senior leaders, the chairman, the managing directors of the companies. So he was talking about customer obsession. The vice chairman of Dr. Reddy's, G.V. Prasad, asked a question at the end to AWS head How do you make it possible? Because he has been trying to make it in that company for long, but he understands the difficulty. Very, very small answer he has given, and it is pertinent here, so I thought to share to you. The AWS India had said that whenever we are in dilemma, whether we should do this or not, we don't decide based on the hierarchy. What he said, they don't decide. Amazon don't decide based on the hierarchy that the L plus 1, 3, 4, India, whoever is take a call. No, it is not like that. They play. How they play? They keep at the center. They keep a chair and ask a customer to sit there. Sometimes the real customer may not be there. So some among the team itself behave as a true customer, sit there, and they put that dilemma question, a difficult question to respond to him, what you want, how you want to be it get to be done, and whatever comes from the customer, they take a final verdict. That's an interesting thing. I remember just now when Mr. Sahoo said about that. I come to now SHAILESH. SHAILESH, you left the job in industry and started your own company. I'm giving you a situation, very tricky situation, but interesting situation also. Suppose you have a partner. Suppose just you have a two partner working together. A couple of years later, you have given a choice. Both are partner. You are segregating each other. Now the choice is that only two choices. One partner will carry all the brand created with him exclusively. Other partner will carry all the customer created with him exclusively. What you prefer?
Okay. So Pranav, definitely, I will answer this question and also give you a few more thoughts about what just transpired, in terms of the data thrown by Anjan and your comments about how feedbacks can be given by customers. I liken this particular question to the Pandavas who went to Lord Krishna and the Kauravas also, and they were given an option: do you want my army or do you want Lord Krishna? Okay. And I mean, of course, it's tactical. It's also strategic. Whatever transpired, when you said something tactical about Sangvi and all. So one was sitting at the feet and one was sitting at the head, right? And I liken this particular answer to saying that you take those army, and he said, okay, fine, I have the army with me. The Pandavas got Lord Krishna. Of course, he gave the Kauravas the first choice. So what is important is the head, okay, the intelligence, the strategy, and the powers. And there is no second thoughts that they all lie among the customers. The second question the second paradigm I want to answer again this question of yours is, if you look at the Kaun Banega Karodpati and all, there are a lot of choices, of lifelines. For me, when you're giving me a choice, it's like a lifeline for me, right? I have a long runway to build my team again, or my brands again, or the company again at SHAILESH when the partners split. There is one lifeline which never goes wrong. And you know that. That is audience poll. There is something called wisdom of the crowd, right? And the wisdom of the crowd never fails.
Yeah.
Expert, of course, he is all decked up with all the wisdom ready answers. But there is something called wisdom of the crowd. And when you talked about the customer and the dilemma in the center and all, it's nothing but the wisdom of the crowd. And I always believe that if you have a problem as to how do I promote my letrozole and some other product which is of the same indication, you just talk to the doctor who is writing your product. How do you segregate in your prescription? How do you segregate among your patients? And I think that answers your question, Pranav, right? What you asked, what do I take back? And obviously it's the customers. And when of course, Anjan and you have all gone through some kind of interview processes. When we select a candidate, I'm sure an experienced candidate has a lot of stories to tell. And I believe that gives me a feel about the depth of the candidate, what type of customer centricity the candidate brings in. And when the stories is not about brands, and the stories is about customers, I think that is where the tipping point is, beyond those psychometric tests and all those kind of stuff. It's kind of that if this guy has a story about his customer, I think he has understood and read the customer well. And for me, he is a win and he is inside. So Pranav, to be to be sharp on this, I mean, there may be ultimate lot of data going around how the world will look like, and that has been going on since the last 20 years. In fact, you will find on the web thousands and millions of paper of Vision 2020 from the McKinseys of the world, from the Whartons of the world. So none of them said that 2020 will be a Corona or a COVID year.
Yes.
So I don't know about how to take this all data, numbers, and pie charts, which will of course run these market research businesses. But what is important is the feel. And here the feel is very simple, that India is still a fragmented pharmaceutical market. That means there is a brilliance in every corner of the country. India is actually 29 countries in one country, and within one particular state, there are multiple countries. When we look at a template-based model, it's very risky. We have to look at regional-based models, maybe local-based models. I'll give a classic example about Mox. It was a 15 capsule strip, and if you look at the villages, the adherence is better than the city life. If the doctor writes 3 capsules for 5 days, they will every day go from the money which they get from the Maneregas and the Naregas of the world, and they will buy that, cut the strip and take those 3 things. I think if you hear that, the future can I keep 3 capsules, 1 strip, and 5 strips in 1 box? So I know this guy is going to come back again. So all said and done, a template-based model is very risky. It has to be fragmented. And looking at customer centricity, a lot of our salespeople who have built a great pharma industry of our country are customer-centric. Even a medical representative is customer-centric. Only thing, organizations have failed to capture those inputs, management, and institutionalize how to scale up this particular knowledge so that the customer centricity input which has come from a medical representative gets institutionalized.
Very, very interesting thing you said about the making an institution. Here and there, some medical rep has exhibited the customer-centric behavior. The problem where we actually failed, we have not done our do best, is that making that an institution. And this is because I think we never thought deeply on the organization structure itself, right? So before I ask the next questions to you on organization structure, both of you, what is suitable for customer-centric pharmaceutical company? I see here Raghavan Angar's comments here is that one company's oncology team left that company and they went to new company or the different company. They carried all the businesses, right? I think this is so many such example that that medical rep, a good medical rep left one company to other company. He carry along with him customer, not brand. And all people here in participants in poll, when asked the same questions, SHAILESH, they also responded, 100% responded that they will take customer, not the brand. Brand, they can create it, right? Customer is more valuable than the brand. My problem here is that we know that everybody knows that customer centricity is an important thing. Many of the medical rep, area manager, regional manager, business head also exhibit customer centricity, but it is not get institutionalized. It is not getting really as a policy, as a corporate policy. Do you believe that the current organization structure, which is organized around the brand, like we have a brand X, then a brand for that brand we have a brand manager, then a marketing manager, and we have a team, sales team to promote that brand. So everything is aligned around the brand. To next stage is the different function. The whole company is organized around the different function like marketing, distribution, HR, finance, like the different functions. Very few company, which is old company, among those companies, I don't see companies are aligned, particularly pharmaceutical company aligned to be a customer centric. What is your opinion? This question is for both of you, one by one. So I request first, SHAILESH itself, you can continue.
Okay. Yeah. So regarding the structure part, I think that's one of the biggest challenges in the Indian pharmaceutical markets and industry. we are obsessed with some designations as well as departments. When we even talk to young students or maybe the experienced brand managers, there is an air of pride or arrogance when they say I'm in diabetology, pathology. But point is, boss, I mean, we are talking about customers and patients. Here, I would like to say that there is an amazing book of Robin Sharma, which is Leadership Without Titles. And you see this often when you go to restaurants. You want an extra sauce or an extra chutney. That guy doesn't go to the manager and ask, can I give it to him? I mean, if he does it with his own, that's something of an experience which is generated for me as a customer. Even that small restaurant believes in the concept of customer centricity. It need not come from the owner of the hotel or the manager who is sitting at the counter. It can even start from the waiter who is at the point of action. And that is where the problems of employee turnover, which is one of the biggest diseases of the pharma industry. I've seen companies where 100% of the field force have churned every year. I mean, that was something which is a grave situation for any organization. This can be avoided if within the and policies of the organization we can allow the person at the point of action to take leadership. So it's not only the head of the structure, it's kind of a continuous, seamless communication, alignment, and an organization-wide believe, I mean, that's the mission statement, which says, boss, do everything within the policy so that the customer, every point of contact, whether it is static, dynamic, digital, phone call, whatever, it creates a love you experience. And I think that is where the structure plays a major role. And it's not, and then again, where I started from the paradigm that the customer has given me the power of attorney to conduct my services. And in accounts, there is a beautiful concept of a going concern. When you form a company, the account says going concern. There is no expiry date in that formation of a company document. Similarly, must be every person who is working in the organization should ensure there is a continuity of all his actions, if is there and even if it's not there. And if that purpose comes with the person, with the organization, I think we are creating good pharma for the country.
Very good. Mr. Sahoo, you have been
Pranav,
president. How you see, if given chance to reorganize organization as a CEO or as a president of the company, free hand, how would you like to realign the whole system?
good question. This is what the new paradigm I must look into. Every pharmaceutical company should start practicing. One, we have a CEO, we have a CFO, we have CMO, we have a CTO, all the are the head of the various department. But very few pharmaceutical company have got a what is called Chief Customer Service Officers. The first domain I would like to look into, bring a team called Chief Customer Service Domain. And this Chief Customer Service Domain should be connected to all the dots, both internal and external customers. And the department should be directly reporting to the CEO or the board of directors of the company and become one of the SBU, business unit. And they are not into the operation, they are more towards the strategic decision making. They should be empowered to that. Whether it's a new product launch or because they are the face of the customer, they bring a lot of customer insight. They create a customer-centric value to the organizations. They help the marketing team or the sales team for the brand valuations. So I look at this is the major challenge which many of the company are not doing it. This is the first thing that should bring in, if you ask me.
So Mr. Sahoo, whether the CCO, Chief Customer Officer,
Yes,
part of the board member or not?
should be the part of the board.
Okay,
Should be the part.
very good. Yeah, I believe that. So just to inform you, nowadays there are companies. So two gentlemen again, Peter Feder and his student McCarthy. They have worked a couple of years on the CLB, and now they advocate a new way of valuation of a company. Right now, how the company is getting valuated, we know that how much asset they have, what is the share price value, market capitalization, blah blah thing. Customer equity is not there. What they said They publish the data actually of the different companies, comparing those companies who are having superior customer equity versus others, whether they are beating the market leaders or not. Basis that there are companies who has adopted the system of corporate valuation, which has component of customer equity. So particularly for the, I was talking to in a startup forum, and I just talked this thing to them also. For a startup company, the customer equity, customer value, put together all the customer and lifetime value of those all the customers is very important factor to get finance, whether anybody will invest on that company or not for the startup. Same way, just look for maybe sooner or than later, you will see that customer equity will be one of the ingredient for the corporate valuation. So we are coming to
one point, Pranav, I would like to add on.
Sure, please.
When we started Dr. Reddy's laboratory, that time not Dr. Reddy, it was called Anjan Pharmaceutical. I'm just bringing one of the key insight. That time we had a vice president called Mr. Chandrasekhar, who died at a very early age. That time we used to talk about one thing. Later on, we started realizing what is called customer lifetime value. He says when the organization in crores, you are in thousands. When your organization multi-crore, what is your value creator? Have you gone into a crore or you remain there itself? So that is what the customer valuations, that how do you improve upon, number one. Number two, when you talk about the Peters, talking about Peter Feder, when he talked about McCarthy, talked about the CLV, the recent balance it talked about, if you look toward the CLP analysis, it talks about a 35% is the physical asset and 65% is the intangible asset. Intangible asset, the more is 50% of the intangible assets is the customer valuations. If that don't happen, then possibly all the brand and everything we look into the short term. Number one. Number three, there are two questions I would like to address. One is Umesh Kuti is asking one question and Mr. Raghavan Iyengar is asking one question, that when the people, they leave the organization, they bring, they take their customers along with, particularly oncologists, which I completely disagree, because a doctor always loyal to the brand he prescribed. And when the individuals leave the organizations and move to another organizations, he just bring along with some of the emotion of the individual relationship, not the brand loyalty. I believe that one need to understand about this, because these are the fear psychosis that we exhibit many of the people, that somebody senior vice president or the sales manager left and joined some other company means he takes care, take everything from this. Or it never happened. If that would have happened, then possibly today Alchem would have gone to the floor, or Wonder Pharmaceutical must have gone to the floor, because we have seen many people, they leave the organizations with 1,000, 600, 700 people also create a new company, but never happened like this. This is what I just want to give a message to both the Umesh or Raghavan.
Right. Okay. So before ending, I want from both of you concluding remark on that. What do you feel? Maybe in 1 or 2 minutes, you can sum up what is your idea about where we should lead further from here.
See, I look at in the 5 core areas I must look into. The time has come, the pharmaceutical, to refurbish. One is, let's look into customer centricity towards the segmentation of the customer, not necessarily that we need to focus on all the lack of customers, maybe 20, 30,000, certain core customers we need to create, where we need to create that lifetime value creations of the customers. And that should be integrated towards the transformation linked to the IT systems and linked to every aspect of the organization. That should connect to all the dots of the organizations. Second one, the critical steps I look into, technology integrations. Second point I look into. Third point I must look into, that one, when we talk about, one need to look into the cost of the acquisition of the customers. And that cost should be the part of the profit center. That not to be a part of the administration or the monitoring system. That should be part of the profit center. One need to be accountable for that, and that division should work accordingly. This is what the three aspects I would like to give the pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. Thanks, Anjan. Pranav, to give some concluding remarks about the discussion. I know, I mean, if you continue, there's a lot of things to say and share. Before I conclude, I just want to give an example about a company which I was associated with was Cipla. And they entered a very difficult market of respiratory many years back. And that time, International, which was already one of the pioneers in this. So how a kind of an activity get institutionalized and how companies become customer-centric, and come what may, a big competitor is unable to make a dent if there is sustainability of such initiatives, a sustainability of customer centricity, and how it can give sustainable business. So there was something called the asthma counselors, which was one of the many initiatives which the company took, where they found out that inhaler was a disruptive innovation. And when something disruptive, it requires time for even the doctor to counsel a patient. So this particular one step of putting an asthma counselor in the clinic for a couple of hours in the evening actually changed the scenario of building great brands. So sustainable. And it's as simple as putting that how you can be ahead of the competition as a thought leader. When somebody replicated this model, these guys went to the retailers and made them asthma or respiratory retailers. A very beautiful example about the British Airways, which were kings in the world. And there was this Emirates who were just from a small country who came up. There was a camera which was also available only in the business class, and there was no camera in the economy class. Emirates thought very simple. There is just a wire required to connect. So can I give the same experience in the economy class? So suddenly, the tipping point was, who is a follower now? And British Airways said, I need to follow it. Before they could wire that from a business class to an economy class, Emirates put a camera on the belly. So you know you were flying over Everest or Tirupati or over Burj Khalifa. So with multiple actions, a company which is continuously customer-centric, continues to take initiatives, can even make the biggest leader a follower. Having said that, every budget meeting, every review meeting, there is only one question we need to ask as a customer organization, and the one question is very simple. What can you do to make customers stick to you more than ever before and more than to anyone else? Thank you.
I think beautifully summed up, Shailesh. Before ending, I would read the sentence written by Inderpal Sethi. He writes that purpose of the organization existence is to create customer. And I also truly believe that if you have a customer, you can have everything. You can procure, produce, product, graduate them to use the newer product, everything. So I'm very aligned with this, what Paul has written that. With this, I would like to thank both of you, Anjan Sahoo and Shailesh PATIL, for coming to this platform, Life After Lockdown. All of you know that, but I'm repeating again. We have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Academy of CPD. Please subscribe to it. And I have written a couple of articles on customer centricity long back, and those articles got republished in customer-centricity.in, the website customer-centricity.in. You can read some of the article there, some of the interviewers there that have some of the metrics which can be useful to you for embracing customer centricity in pharmaceutical, and in all the article are mostly for the pharmaceutical industry perspective itself. With this, I would like to thank everybody, all the participants, Milind Hardas, who is for Anjan and me also, he has been our mentor, and he's expert in creativity. Maybe I will request him sometimes to come in this forum to help us to understand what exactly creativity brings to the table for getting more business. It is not about creative design, rather it is about the creatively connecting different aspects of the business and delivering value to the customer, creating value to the organizations we are working for. With this, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot. Namaskar.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pranav. Thank you, God.